Coming up on First at 4, a man in Perry County is accused of killing his own brother. And there is a new feud between the current governor and the former governor. We'll explain what this one is about.
And a few storms are rolling across the region this afternoon. I'll track them out for you. First at 4 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. Governor Andy Beshear is holding a news conference on the COVID-19 outbreak here in Kentucky. If you would like to watch it, it is underway on our second channel, Heroes and Icons, or you can go to the WYMT Facebook page. And of course, we are monitoring for any major developments. First at 4, Kentucky State Police in Hazard are investigating a murder. Police say it started with a fight between two brothers. WYMT's Will Puckett has the latest.
The initial call started here off of Chavy's Dunraven Road. Troopers with Post 13 out of Hazard were called at close to 11 Wednesday night for an unconscious man. When police arrived, they found Doug Noble with serious injuries and he was taken to Hazard ARH. Officials then tracked down his brother, James Noble, at a house off of 451 in Krypton and began a several hours long standoff with James Noble. Police ended up taking James into custody without incident. Police say while fights between brothers are somewhat common, them escalating to this level is not.
To the magnitude that it would lead to death, it's just, I wouldn't say it's common, but it's also not the first time it's happened. And regardless, it's just a tragic and sad situation.
Doug Noble was later pronounced dead at Hazard ARH. According to this arrest warrant, James Noble ran over his brother multiple times with an ATV. In Perry County, Will Puckett, WYMT Mountain News.
State police say a woman was in the house where James barricaded himself, but officials say she was not involved and is not facing any charges. She was also not injured.
Feels weird to be back here, but we're here today due to some internet issues. Let's take a look and see what's going on live pinpoint Doppler radar, and it is active this afternoon. Take a look. We're seeing showers and storms clustered across a big chunk of the area, about half of the area south of the Hal Rogers Parkway, Highway 80 corridor. I'll get it there in a second. It's a little bit late for me. All right, but we are tracking one thing down to the south area. It is a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Claiborne and Campbell counties in East Tennessee. That goes until 4:45 this afternoon. That is a stout line there with lots of wind and lightning with it, but it is moving off to the south and east, so we're not expecting to see any of that here. I drove through some pretty good rain earlier and now it made it over to Whitesburg, and it's going to continue to pour down there in some locations for a little while longer, but they won't last all night. Just got to get to the heat of the day first. And speaking of which, 87 Jackson and Prestonsburg right now, 90 in Somerset. Everywhere south of that, though, you can tell where the rain has come through because you're seeing those 70s and low 80s, and across the state, 90s. It's a hot afternoon out there once again after that cold front rumbled through yesterday. A few storms tonight on the headlines, a hot weekend ahead, and then as we head back into next week, those scattered storms continue in that typical summer pattern. I'll have the rest of the forecast coming up here in just a little bit. Steve?
All right, Brandon, thank you. A new legal challenge between Andy Beshear and Matt Bevin. This time, the feud between the two political rivals is over public records Governor Andy Beshear wants returned to the state. It is based on a 4-year-old case and then Governor Matt Bevin's bids for lawyers when he wanted former Governor Steve Beshear and his son Andy Beshear investigated for alleged corruption. WYMT's Phil Pendleton is looking into this complex case and has more from Frankfort.
Matt Bevin and Andy Beshear had a lot of cases argued or decided in court when Matt Bevin was governor. And once again, there is a legal issue between the two now. It has to do with some public documents that Beshear cabinet officials claim are missing because of the actions of a Bevin attorney. This latest case started just before Beshear took office in December of last year. Just before that inauguration, Beshear's transition team discovered that some files were missing. Those files were from an investigation started by Bevin's legal team into alleged corruption by former Governor Steve Beshear and then Attorney General Andy Beshear. A motion alleges that Bevin gave a law firm information about the contracts a month before they were opened. A Bevin staffer, Gwendolyn Pinson, is accused of telling staffers only to use personal emails when talking about sensitive matters. We spoke with Pinson's attorney, who says she is no longer a government employee and the information Beshear wants is protected by attorney-client privilege.
Lawyers aren't allowed to waive the privilege. Only clients can do that. And so until Governor Bevin waives the privilege, or until the Kentucky Bar Association, as the regulator over attorneys, tells my client that she can release those information, that she must release that information, then I don't feel comfortable advising my client to release it.
The State Finance and Administration Cabinet claims in a statement that the actions of this official manipulated the process and ultimately cost the state about $600,000. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
According to legal documents, the former Bevin lawyer could be found in contempt of court and charged if she does not cooperate. Eastern Kentuckians affected by furloughs and layoffs due to COVID-19 are now eligible for career assistance through a new program provided by a grant through the East Kentucky Concentrated Employment Program, or EKCEP. The Rework EKY program was funded by a $2.4 million grant through the Kentucky Department of Labor to help those without jobs and their spouses connect with new job opportunities through virtual training. Dr. Karen Wright, the project manager over the grant, says the first step is to just make the call.
When people contact us, we're just finding out what is it that you're looking to do. Are you looking for training? Are you looking for those job placements? And we're working on some temporary humanitarian job placements with the health departments.
Coming up at 6, we'll have more on what unique partnerships for job placement are available, where you can possibly help do your part to stop the spread of COVID-19. A new coffee shop is now open in Jenkins despite the pandemic. WYMT's Dakota Makris is there and has more from today's grand opening.
I'm outside of Coal City Coffee, where the ribbon cutting ceremony took place Friday morning. Coal City Coffee opened in collaboration with Smile Faith Appalachia, where the proceeds will help serve the community with dental needs.
We were trying to find a financial stream. It's hard to get grants. Everybody's begging for grants, so we get tired of begging. So we just gave up on that and tried to find other ways in which we could get support. Coffee shop was a great idea.
Coal City Coffee is located inside of the Smile Faith Wellness and Fun Center. For now, I'm in Jenkins. Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News.
And Dakota will have more on the coffee shop coming up at 5:30. As high school football plans remain up in the air, many questions remain unanswered other than when kickoff will be, but how will this affect things at the next level? College recruiting at the NAIA level normally starts in a kid's sophomore or junior season. Teams remain in contact with players throughout their senior year, watching them play in person during the evaluation period. But with some states going to a spring season like Virginia, the process gets a lot harder.
Some of these kids may not have the opportunity to play in the spring, so we really have to do our homework on that junior film and go back and watch it, because some of these teams may get into in a situation that they may only play 1 or 2 games. This virus could spread amongst their team.
UPike's coach Al Holland Jr. says a lot depends on national signing dates, which are currently before the end of Virginia's new end of the season date. As far as evaluating players, coaches say game film being easily available helps. More than 4 million cases, that's the number of confirmed cases of the coronavirus in the United States. The CDC is now predicting there will likely be up to 30,000 new deaths in the U.S. in the next 3 weeks. But there are signs of progress in some hotspot states. Cases are starting to come down in Arizona, where the governor extended his order to keep bars and gyms closed. And in Texas, hospitalizations and deaths are starting to decrease from their record highs. The U.S. death toll is nearly 145,000 people. As countries continue to overcome challenges from the deadly coronavirus pandemic, Australia is facing an unexpected second wave. Today, Australia suffered its highest daily death toll since the pandemic began. Military troops were sent to the hardest hit regions as part of the government's aggressive suppression strategy. The strategy includes a combination of enforced contact tracing and increased lockdown measures. In addition to the increase in cases, the country is forecasting its biggest biggest fiscal deficit in recent years. Mel Gibson was hospitalized for 1 week after testing positive for COVID-19. Gibson's representative says the actor and director came down with it in April. The 64-year-old has since tested negative and recovered. Gibson is best known for movies like Braveheart and Hacksaw Ridge. Other celebrities who have battled COVID-19 include Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson, Pink, and Idris Elba. Let's head over to Wall Street now on this Friday afternoon. The Dow closes down today more than 182 points. Straight ahead on First at 4, face masks are an important part of our lives now. We'll show you which ones are most effective.
And it looks like a hot weekend is ahead with a rain chance follow us into it. I'll have the latest forecast coming up.